Now, let's talk about the next thing, and this is more around running the day-to-day business. This is the operational side of things, right? How much rent should I charge? How should I screen my tenants? How do I find out the best tenant which is there? Who's going to take care of the landscaping? Who's going to take care of the snow removal? And when you look from those perspectives, again, you wear with the same approach. You come up and wear with the same lenses and say that, what is my main objective of this business? You can either increase your revenues or you can reduce your expenses so that you get the most profit out of it. So maximize your cash flow, right? Or put it to a point where you can get good appreciation for your particular property which is there. So when you think from that perspective, you start thinking, okay, how do I increase my revenues? The way you would increase your revenues is by charging extra rent or increased rent as the months and years go by. Now, one of the areas we all fall under, and this is the problem which we all have, is we get very hesitant to go to our existing tenant and saying, hey, you know what, the market conditions have changed and I want a little increase in rent. We start thinking from a perspective of, yeah, but what if that person does not like it? What if the tenant walks up and goes? Now I have to go and find another tenant. Yes, you have all that, but your goal is to maximize your revenues here. So you might have to understand what your market conditions are and then decide accordingly whether it's the right time for you to increase the rent. And if it is the right time to do so, if your market conditions tells you that you can get $200 per month extra for that property you have in the market right now, you should go and talk to your tenant and talk about increasing the rent, right? Or you should not be afraid if the tenant decides to not renew the lease and move away, you can find someone else, right? The same you have to start looking at from an expenses perspective. What are my expenses and what are some of the ways I can reduce those expenses? So every year go and shop for insurance, right? Every year go and check your property taxes and see, is there a way you can get your property taxes to be reduced? Or is there a way you can shop for more insurance out there? So you can basically see what is the best way you can get to reduce your expenses or find the best deal for the expenses you currently have. The another area where we need to start thinking about is, what are the systems and processes you'll put in place? So you could basically go and say that I'm going to institute this particular way of tenant screening, right? So every tenant which comes in will follow this application, they'll fill up this application form, there's going to be this background check, and then there's going to be this other questions they have to answer. I'm going to meet them, and then I'm going to decide whether this is a good tenant for me or not. And the thing is, once you document it like this, once you start looking at it from that particular aspect, you can apply that in a consistent way across 1 tenant, 10 tenants, or 100 tenants, right? So you want to make sure that you are using the right way of approaching things and put your right systems and processes in place so that once you have your tenants come across, you don't have to figure out every time how am I going to screen my tenant. So that brings efficiency. That brings you a very a way in which you can know what am I going to do in a certain situation, how I'm going to act when an electrician needs to be called, a plumber needs to be called, like who is going to be stepping in and taking care of my things. So you want to do things in a predictable way, you want to do things in a systematic way, and this is where systems and processes comes in. Now they bring efficiencies for you because once you have one rental property, you want to go and add more rental properties. But the only way you can add more rental properties if you're not caught up in the day-to-day operations of a current one. So the more you put systems in place, the more you automate things, the more you make things more predictable, it's going to be easy for you to run it as a business. Now, finally, the last thing I want to talk about is when you try and do an exit, right? So our goal as a business should always be thinking about our exit strategy. Like what is our exit strategy? How are we going to go about it? And are we going to sell this particular property or are we going to go and basically refinance it and take the money out? Whichever way makes sense for you, whichever way the market conditions are, you have to think from a business perspective here also and see, what is my profit and loss statement looking like? What is my balance sheet of this particular asset looking like? Is this asset still providing me the money which I feel it should? Is it still providing a huge cash flow? Does it still have an upside? But if you feel at a point that you have extracted all the value from this particular asset, you might be better off just selling it and buying a new one. So again, if you think about it, you approach it as a business, you don't get emotional about the property. You don't feel like, oh my God, I love this so much, I can't sell this, right? So you have to think about, this is an asset, this is a business, and is my business profitable? Is the business giving me the money I need? Or would it be better to sell that business and buy another one which will give me that amount of profit, right? Or it can give me more profit. That's the whole idea here. So you have to start looking at it that way. You have to approaching it. So folks, whenever you get into real estate investing, have your business hat on, because that is what is going to make you the most money and allow you to run this in a very systematic way. And more importantly, it will allow you to scale. So run your real estate investment as a business, and it will take you a long way and make you more successful like that. All right. So if there are any questions, any comments, feel free to please put it in the comments. Please click on the notification so that you get notified every week when the new episodes come in. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you.